Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mindless Horror Podcast, episode 202, with my guest today in studio, Mr. Rick West. You know him, you love him. Rick, we have a lot to talk about, a lot to get through. I know Midsummer Scream is right around the corner.
It is.
We have a lot to talk about. Midsummer Scream 2024. Our love for Las Vegas. We're going to be getting into that for sure. And of course, just catching up, man.
Great. Join us for a 24-hour podcast.
Toll-free number right there on the bottom below.
That's
right
great,
there.
Man.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, man, you look great.
Thank you.
And I know last Midsummer you were facing a little bit of some health stuff going on.
A lot of
health stuff. We did miss you a lot during Midsummer Screen, and me and Sammy, we look for you specifically, so we missed you.
Thank you.
How you doing, man? How's that journey been from that weekend going forward to this whole last year?
Yeah, so Midsummer 23 recap. Just before installation week, I had a major infected gallbladder.
Right.
And didn't know, and being a dumb, stupid guy, I decided I was going to try to ride it out because I didn't know what it was. And ended up being dangerously septic. And ended up in the ER having to have emergency surgery because it was starting to affect all my organs.
Right.
And I ended up missing most of Midsummer Scream. I was in the ER in the hospital room for the week, and they released me late on a Friday night. And I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to shower and we're going to get up and we're going to go to Long Beach on Saturday morning. That just never happened. I mean, I did rally and I did come to Long Beach on Sunday for a few hours. I probably should not have. But I did. I was so hopped up on drugs and painkillers and stuff, I literally don't remember anything.
Wow.
From being there. I know that I went through the haunts and Hall of Shadows, because how could I not? You know, that was my main motivation, was these haunters have busted their asses to be in the Hall of Shadows. I have to at least be there. I felt very guilty that I wasn't there in the trenches with them the whole week, setting everything up and, you know, being supportive and all that. And
I know Hall of Shadows is your baby right there.
Yeah,
you know, so.
Yeah. So I really, I had to at least be there to say thank you to everybody. From the haunters to Decade Brigade, to my team. Right. And, you know, so I did that. I also had a presentation with Ron Chaney that I did. Right. And he and I had worked on that for months and months and months. And there was a lot of stuff in there, and Ron kept saying, oh, you know, we'll get somebody else to do it. But I knew that there was no way that somebody else could drive that, because we put 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Right. And it was like, no, I got to drive this thing, otherwise it's going to go completely off the rails.
Especially with you guys discussing it left and right, you know.
Yes. So I did that and made it through that. And then I was there long enough to say goodbye to everybody. We always say our executive welcome and then our executive farewell at the end of the show. And after that, I made it out through the Hall of Shadows, and I was in really bad shape.
Oh, man.
After that. So that was the horror of 23. You know, the past year has just been spent getting myself in shape, you know, losing a few pounds of weight, and really just strengthening my body, you know. And I feel better. I feel better than I've felt in almost 20 years.
That's great. That's
so
honestly really great to hear.
Absolutely ready for this year.
Okay.
Knock on wood. And there we go. Thank you. And it's gonna be great. I really missed not being at Midsummer last year. I think that was other than the whole almost dying thing. Not being at Midsummer was really hard on me. Right. Mentally and emotionally, because you invest so much time in creating these shows. It takes about, and we'll talk about this more later, it takes about 18 months to really kind of see a Midsummer through to fruition for the most part. And to work literally every day for that amount of time and then not be there to see this thing come to fruition was really hard. It kind of really, fucks with you mentally.
Right.
And so, that was crazy. But, I'm focused and dedicated on everything this year, and we've got a really great show, a very strong show.
Dude,
and
tell me about it.
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
killing me with these announcements over here, man. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do all this all weekend, and
You're
that's
not,
always...
And that's our...
You say
we're
that, but
horrible.
last year we had 4 deep with 4 cameras,
Okay,
so we
all right.
figured out the loopholes now.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna try to be everywhere now.
There
We're gonna
you
try
go.
to give everyone the content they deserve to see.
Yep.
I know you're hosting a really stacked panel, a bunch of
am.
haunters, both new generation and current generation, older generation, all the generations coming to one.
Yeah.
You got Jacob in there, you got John Murdy, you got all these great people that have worked in the haunt industry. I mean, talk to me a little bit about how this one came together, because this is I can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, so, folks that have come to Midsummer in the past know that I usually do some sort of haunt-related panel.
Correct.
Because we are so involved with making Midsummer a reality, the producers of Midsummer typically don't do a lot of presentations. I've kind of always done at least one,
Right.
maybe 2 presentations, because I'm just so knee-deep into the community and into everything. I put these things together, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to drive that, man. I put this panel together. I'm going to drive that thing because I want it to be, really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
Just like it is in my mind.
Yeah.
And so, I knew that I was going to do one panel this year.
Right.
And it usually is the haunt panel, and usually it kind of goes along the line of what's going to be new and hot type of thing. And I just decided I wanted to mix it up a little bit this year.
Right.
I wanted to mix it up a little bit, and I thought to myself, I've been following so many haunters over the years that have started as, monsters somewhere, or in a lot of cases as home haunts, right? And my thing is, and we've talked about this before, and I will always talk about this, home haunts, to me, that is the core of what Halloween is.
Yeah, 100%.
We have just simply taken that essence and put that on a really big stage with Midsummer Scream.
Right.
That's one of the main ingredients that I think Midsummer Scream has been very successful because of. We're not just a horror convention, we're a Halloween and horror convention.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the cross between the both worlds.
Yes, and that, to me, as a creator, has always been very important.
Right.
And that's why it always says Halloween and horror. Halloween always comes first.
No, 100%.
Right? And so I just thought, well, you know what? This might be a really cool year to kind of showcase home haunters that kind of crossed over to the other side and became industry folks. And so, of course, I immediately think of people like Jacob Larson.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that, and that's one of the people. I was fortunate enough. Destiny just happened to get to meet us. My uncle was teaching him in his history class.
Okay.
And he had told, my uncle found out what I was doing with Nights of Horror, and he had told his entire class for extra credit to subscribe to the channel, and he'd throw extra credit in their books. Well, Jacob took it a step further and was like, hey, this could be a good opportunity for us. Invited me out to Pirates Cave. That was the first time I ever experienced like a really good production home haunt. Like I didn't...
Crazy.
It's insane, and that really opened my eyes and a new world to the world of home haunts, and I was obsessed. And then we started finding one after the other. Midsummer Scream helps a ton because all those are pretty much home haunters and independent haunts that come in, build their stuff that you can go visit in the off season. And it's just really cool to see someone like Jacob, a kid that we were essentially kind of his first press, his first media to kind of invite us out, do a tour and everything, and that I'll never forget that. I'm always grateful. I'm so glad that him and his dad they did incredible stuff. But Jacob to go on and to do what he's doing right now at Knott's Berry Farm, incredible.
Yeah, really great. And so then, So there's that's kind of like the new blood, right? That's the
Right.
young blood. And then I knew that friends that I've had for a long time, like Ted Doherty,
Right.
and Jeff Scheffelbein,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that these guys were from home haunts.
Mhm.
They started when they were young. And, Ted Doherty has gone on to really be involved with fantastic haunts all over the
Right.
place
Yeah.
as a show writer and creative director and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And Jeff Scheffelbein, there was the whole era of Sinister Point, man.
Yeah, dude. I remember.
Where that was it for Orange County. Like, that was a cornerstone
Yeah.
of the haunt season. And Jeff has gone on to do really great things. And he now has the Haunted Mansion,
Yeah.
Airbnb type thing. And he does different one-off things. And he does a lot of professional stuff in the industry. And so I tapped those guys. And then I thought, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swing big on this one. And I know just from listening to John Murdy talk about his own upbringing and career,
Right.
I know that he started out in his parents' garage, and I thought to myself, what a great opportunity to allow John to have the freedom to talk about that. Whereas when we have him, he is there specifically to talk about Horror Nights, right? But for him, for an hour, just to be one of the guys up on stage,
Not
and-
to leave business aside and just to
and
reminisce.
talk about his initial love for haunting and all that
Right.
stuff. That's a story that we haven't told on a stage before at Midsummer.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if anybody's going to do that, I'm going to bump that into my panel.
And I gotta praise you for this one, specifically for adding Jacob onto this.
Yeah, of
Jacob
course.
is I think he's a brilliant kid. He's always been super kind, super nice to us every time we've come through. Very welcoming, and they've gone above and beyond to even let us do more behind the scenes stuff. Especially in the last year when they did their big haunt, we were kind of like he was like, we want you to come out and do the behind the scenes for us and put it on the channel. We think it could be a lot of fun.
That's great.
And I like I said, I'm so incredibly proud of the kid. He's can't come so far, but to add him on that spotlight with all those other people that have paved that way and made their names and stuff and gotten to that place, and he's on that road right now.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and to see him on that stage, man, I was like, when I first read that post, I was just smiling huge because I'm like, he deserves it. He has gotten a long way with his dad to get there, and now he's off on his own doing his own thing, and he's killing it.
Yeah, so it's exciting, and I think that everybody, the career paths have all been different, and they're all exciting, and they've all added, just immensely to the Southern California and beyond haunt community.
Right.
It's an honor for me to be up there and sit and. It's nice when you know everybody that's on the panel, right?
Right.
I think that is whether it's something like this or one of my bigger presentations that I've put together for Midsummer over the years. For me, I always personally think that if there's already pre-existing chemistry there between people, it comes across so much better to the audience. We've had incidences at our shows where we have had moderators that don't know a thing about the people that they're with on stage.
Right.
And personally, I never go down that road because I think that it comes across that way.
Right.
And a couple times it has come across that way. And, that's not always the case.
Right.
But to me, a panel presentation, in my mind, is so much better when we draw in the audience, whether it's 600 people or 2,000 people.
Right.
You draw everybody in to an intimate conversation between friends.
100%.
I think that is so much more exciting and so much more meaningful
Right.
than somebody up there, no matter how well-spoken they are and no matter how versed they are on said subject, so much better than just sitting up there reading questions off of a cue card and going, from point A to B to C with no connective tissue in the middle. And that connective tissue just comes from years of being buddies with people.
Right.
And talking about.
And I see you at all the events all the time, so it's like that continued friendship is going on to support especially all these people that are on this stage to go support what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I see you at all the events, especially when season starts. putting out the support and going to support, and it's great to see you around but that's where it comes full circle with, like you said, having a conversation with the boys.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I think this is going to be honestly a packed house. I really believe it, because there's so much info that you could hear that you've probably never heard before, from so many stories, so many, and then you're going to hear, like you said, you're going to hear from all generations of what the current generation is going through right now versus what the old generation went through years ago, and how much it's evolved and changed. And then to hear your input, you've been kind of in the center of all that throughout these years, the TPA and stuff. So
I have, and it's been great. And I think that everybody that's coming to the panel is going to be really stoked to hear about everybody's origin. Everybody loves the origin story, right? Of course. So to hear about this, and in some cases I've got not a monstrous PowerPoint presentation, because I want the focus to be on the conversation.
Right.
But you're going to see pictures of John Murdy as a kid at his
mom's homemade costumes. I remember he shared those stories. Dude, it's awesome.
I've already got these pictures, and it's great. It's great for a glimpse into folks' lives.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, there are going to be scores of home haunters in the audience going, dude, that's me. That's my kid. That's... So everybody, that common thread is going to be not only through everybody on the stage, including me, because I started doing home haunts and stuff when I was a kid.
Right.
And so, we all share that common thread, but so many people in the audience share that common thread.
Right.
I think that regardless of the fact that, it's going to be, I'm sure, a pretty full house. It's going to feel very intimate, and and you're going to feel at home.
Yeah, you're going to relate to the conversation. And it's like you said, my girlfriend, her dream is to open her own haunt. Like, she wants to do a full-time resort-style kind of thing. And I'm just like, it is, her mind is just incredible. So, like, this is one I want her to go see, for sure. Because I'm like, you need to maybe hear the stories of how these guys came up and what the things they did coming up and how they worked their way into where they are now, and maybe can give you some more guidance to the path that you want to go down, and I 100% support whatever she, wants to do with that, because I think it's a great idea. But nonetheless, I cannot wait for this one. I think this is going to be one I for sure cannot miss. And I'm is that one going to be in the Grand Ballroom this year?
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one.
We when we put up, our panel presentation, unless we know it's something like Knots, right?
Right.
Horror Nights, we know those are automatically in the Grand Ballroom,
yes,
right? Just because of capacity,
right?
But when we put up the home haunt thing, I knew that it was going to be big, but there is a period where we vacillate between our promenade stage,
right,
which seats about 700 people,
and
which is
that's pretty big.
That's bigger than most conventions' main room.
Was that Six Flags last year? They owned that stage, I think, last year, right?
I don't know. You tell me about last year.
Yeah, I think they did. They owned that stage last year, but they right. The stages are great. And even the little classrooms that you guys do, even those sit a good amount of people. I got to witness a couple of those last year. That was a lot of fun.
Because Midsummer is such a large entity. It's this big thing. We can't have small at all anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I think the classrooms, the breakout rooms, I want to say those hold 100 people.
Easy.
There are a lot of people in these things. So, the Grand Ballroom is about 2,000 people, and so it's no joke. But the home haunt panel, from home haunt to pro haunt, that's going to be in the ballroom.
I'm excited for that one. Don't miss that one. That's going to be definitely one you're going to want to see, and we're going to get that one recorded. So it's on YouTube forever, so people can watch it to the end of history.
I appreciate that. That's
of course,
great.
yeah.
That's how I get to see Midsummer. Right?
Yeah, I know. We talk about this all the time. If you guys don't know this, especially if you guys attend media, Rick watches everything after that weekend after. That's how they get to live Midsummer, is through everyone else. So get that good content out there and get that stuff, because Rick wants to see it all, man.
Yeah.
No, and you guys, obviously, you're talking about the pro haunts too. You guys have a stacked panel weekend. All the pros are coming out.
Yeah.
I think the big one, and the one I'm most excited for, obviously, is the return of Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. Yeah. From what I remember, Midsummer panels are always wild with the Dark Harbor, and I am so excited to see what they pull out this year. what they talk about. Six Flags coming in heavy this year with IPs.
Yep.
That's going to be a fun one to go through. Knott's obviously always kills it every year.
Yep.
Halloween Horror Nights, Murdy always brings the goods.
Yep.
Castle Dark. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
It's been a busy year for you guys. Like,
yeah. What's great is not only are all of these venues fired up, they're always fired up to do these things, but so many of them are going like bigger this year.
And we I would say last year too, especially the year of the milestones, the 50th of Knott, the 30th of Six Flags, and now it seems like they're trying to always go bigger and better
now
after that.
It's ridiculous, yeah. Magic Mountain came out of left field and said, we're dropping all these IPs.
It's that merger, man. That merger went into effect.
Man, so it's going to be very interesting to hear what they have to say and show us. And, jump into the Dark Harbor thing, 13th Floor Entertainment Group. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do. And, hey, look, you know what? I don't envy them because those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Right? They're going into an event that, Epic Entertainment created with Queen Mary and that group. And so they're kind of picking up where Epic left off,
right?
Because of COVID and all this. And, man, all eyes are on them. I feel like if there's one event that everybody's kind of like eyeballing.
There's a lot of hype over it right now. A lot of hype.
So I don't envy that. That's the kind of pressure.
Yeah.
That I'm not into that kind of pressure at this point in my life.
Right.
So don't envy them at all.
No.
Chris and team, Godspeed, man. That's a big
thing to fill.
Order to fill. Yeah.
I have a lot of high hopes with 13th Floor Entertainment. They have produced a lot of great stuff. I finally got to check out Delusion last year. Been seeing it at Midsummer Scream for so long. Been wanting to go. Last year, I finally jumped the gun and I bought the tickets and we went out and checked it out.
Last year was a good show.
It was a great show. I love everything about that. I love immersive haunt and immersive storytelling. That's just more my theater background, obviously. Yeah. But it's I can't wait to see what they pull out for next. They're going to be a new location this year, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. And just to see, but 13th Floor, man, they're coming up in the haunt world, and I have a lot of faith for them, especially what we've been seeing with everything they've been showing on social media lately.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. And, can't talk about Delusion without giving huge shout out to John Braver.
Yeah.
That's his baby.
He's a genius.
He is the great I am when it comes to Delusion.
Great storytelling,
and
man.
So, you can thank the huge deep dive of storytelling. That's 100% Braver. And
such a great experience. I was legit terrified because I know that place is actually haunted, and it's just like it's like going on the Queen Mary.
And the thing that's great about Delusion and the way that John approaches things is that he creates to the environment.
Right.
Right? He doesn't say, here's my story this year. We're going to shoehorn it in wherever we end up.
Yeah.
No. They find the location, and then he literally secludes himself, and becomes this
Jack
mad
Torrance.
genius, and he creates based on where they're going to be.
All work and no play.
So, man, it's just I've always had a lot of respect for John and his process. I've very, very often over the years busted his balls a little bit and said, dude, nobody needs to know anything else except this is a haunted house, type thing, right? A writer lived here that used to write scary stories. Monsters have come alive out of her stories. That's it.
I love it.
But John takes it and goes like 20 levels deeper, because that's the way his mind works. And so
it's incredible.
I always give him crap about it, but I know that there are a lot of very, very hardcore delusionists, the fans, delusionals. Delusionals, I think is what they're called. And they go through all of the layers of the onion. I mean, they peel everything back.
Right.
And so there is something to be said about that kind of storytelling, and I don't know that anybody does it better than John.
Well, like I said, last year for us, and I loved, even before the immersiveness starts, you're already starting to peel back a little bit of that story. You're walking through this house, you're seeing dolls move on their own, you're seing all these like different little shows and little activities going on. Walk to the back of the house. They got a little bar back there and everything. You can actually, if you got the VIP, you could be a part of the experience,
which was great.
I thought that was awesome last year to be like part of one of the zombies and stuff. Like that was a lot of fun. I didn't get to do it, but to see people do it and watch it and then actually go through the haunt and then see it, I'm like, that's what we could have done. That's awesome.
Yeah,
like,
Eleonova, when I did that, and Eleonova, she went and became one of the zombies.
Oh,
right. So she
perfect.
did that. I got to watch her doing that.
Right.
And then Noel Cox was the guy that was, kind of hosting that.
Right.
And I've known Noel for years and years and years, and great guy, and couldn't have been any better casting for that. And so, no, I thought that whole setup was really good last year.
I have to say one last thing on the delusion thing. I think the scariest room by far is when you go up the stairs after getting the talking doll, and then they have the nanny watching the TV on like the snake head thing. I was like, we need to be absolutely quiet because this thing is going to kill us.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, they really do bring that, and for me, being a video, you know video games too. This bring that for me. That's what it felt like. It was like a live action walkthrough of a video
very
game,
much.
Resident Evil game or something.
Yeah, very
and
much.
I like that. I mean, like I said, man. I mean, not to mention the incredible vendors that you guys get every year.
Yeah,
that's another one of my favorite things, and your team, and you and your team do a great job of picking the vendors to come out. I mean, so many different options for anybody, all ages. Between all the goods, merch, and everything to all the sweets and everything that people... I mean, there is so much to shop for. You're going to want to save the money because I guarantee you there's something you're going to want to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys do it great every year.
It's
I don't know.
massive. The show floor,
it's amazing.
David Markland wrangles the vendors, and, it's a challenge for me to keep tabs on just over a dozen haunters in the Hall of Shadows.
Right.
How he maintains this ongoing relationship with over 300 vendors. I don't envy him.
Nope.
And but he does it very well.
Right.
And it's great. And it's great that Midsummer has grown to the point where, I mean, literally all we have to say is, hey, vendor applications are open. And we already have a waiting list, right? It's already filled. So I know that we're, that's night and day from back in the day where we had Scare LA, and we were, struggling to find vendors or who do we pick and that type of thing, to whereas now it just kind of almost runs itself.
Yeah. Because
before the weekend is over, I know that any vendor that David comes into contact with already says, "This is the best show ever. Can I give you money right now to be there next year?" They're ready to reserve the spot, and the show's not even over.
Right.
And that's just become a constant thing now every year.
That's good.
So it's not an easy job that he has wrangling everybody, but it's certainly not a struggle. I think the struggle now, and I don't like speaking for other people on our team, but I think that one of his big struggles now is balancing out, different types of vendors so that there aren't 50 people selling the same same shirts on the show floor.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge, I think, for David in this process now is making sure that everything is represented on the floor and as even keel as it can be. Obviously, there are a lot of people that sell shirts and apparel and that type of thing. But that's, somebody's got to go through all that and say, well, what makes them different or whatever. And David does most of that. And so I think that he's done a really good job over the years curating and growing the show floor into this shopping behemoth, that it is now.
Right.
I will walk around the show floor and there's no way that I even see half of it. I mean, I see a handful of people and I remember, that vendor from last year, or, that's a great vendor there or whatever, but there's just not enough time. And there are people that will go and spend the entire weekend on the show floor. And I get that. Because if you do anything else, you're not going to see all the vendors on the show floor.
Nope.
So again, that's one of the great decisions you have to make when you go to Midsummer. And so, and that's also a reason that we really wanted to kick in the Friday night.
Right.
Friday night is really, everything is kind of firing on all cylinders, but it really is to give the vending show floor a kickstart boost.
Mm-hmm.
Because once Saturday comes and our panels are in full swing, the Black Cat Lounge is open,
Exactly.
Those are all people sucks. And they take people away from the show floor. They take them away from the vendors. So we wanted to be able to have several hours where people can come in and really, really take their time, shopping on the show floor.
And I think that's good for us because that's something my girlfriend likes to do. She really likes to look at all the vendors, see what
Mine too,
right? you know the feeling, right?
Yeah.
And we're all just standing right there and just kind of like, that's I like that. But then I get caught and started looking and stuff, and that's dangerous territory.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So we usually take that first day to kind of try to just walk the show floor, just to at least get a view inside of the vendors, to get an idea of where everyone is. And then by the next day, if I need to come in, I'll come in. If it's something that I need to get, and I know it's probably going to sell, I'll get. But if I know it's something that's probably going to be there for most of the weekend, I will wait until Sunday to go grab it.
Yep.
Only because with Saturday, with how much running around we're doing and just the other bunch of equipment that we're bringing, I don't want to have to carry other stuff for Saturday, so I save it usually for Sunday.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, amazing panels, terrific vendors. Something we got to talk about with the Hall of Shadows this year. Brand new people taking over the facade this year.
Yeah, Fear Farm.
Fear Farm, man. I mean, Cal Hans, they did their time, and they did an amazing job every single year. Now they passed the torch to Fear Farm. Fear Farm has been coming up the last couple years, and they have been doing some fantastic stuff. What can you tell us, man? I mean, this is an exciting one. I mean, I'm excited to see what they bring to the table now. I've seen what they can bring to the table. Now I want to see what they can do for you guys at Midsummer. Like, how has this been for you guys?
I mean, so first of all, I would be remiss to talk about this without giving once more props to Cal Hans for so many years of beyond exceptional, contribution to Midsummer.
Amazing.
They started our portal into Hall of Shadows in 2017, and they also did season screamings, the Hall of Yuletide Spirits. They were the entryway to that in Pasadena, and they have gone up and beyond the call of duty to really represent the best of the SoCal haunt industry.
Right.
And so we are forever in debt to the folks, especially Diane and Preston Meyer. They kind of were the ringleaders of this for so many years, and we're always in debt to them. And it was not a secret to me that. Let me back up my thought a little bit here. Doing the Hall of Shadows is a huge, huge task. People will come in, they'll see these haunts, they'll see the displays and go, oh, that was really cool. What they don't realize is that there is a shit ton of work
100%.
that goes in to this. I mean, you will know this.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend will know this. Joe Blow coming to the convention as a casual fan or whatever, they don't realize this, nor should they, really. But these haunters have been working for months and months and months on the final product that you see in the Hall of Shadows. And it's at great expense, time-wise, financially, time away from their family, in some cases, to do this, time off of work to do this. So it's a huge sacrifice. Yeah, on one hand, it's awesome because we give them a really big platform to be seen by thousands of people, which they, in some cases, probably wouldn't see that many doing their home haunt, in October.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity to give people a lot of visibility, but that comes at a price. And the price is they have to bust their asses open for months and months and months before Midsummer, and then all weekend at Midsummer.
Yeah, because
so many people,
a lot of these people are also even scare acting in their own haunts. You know what I mean? And that's talk about being tired for that weekend.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. So that all said, it was no secret internally that it was putting a pretty good strain on the folks at Cal Haunts.
Right.
to do this every year, just like clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. And they had a lot of members that were saying, hey, we kind of want to do our own things and focus on our own things.
Right.
And I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 2 years ago, because everything is much longer in midsummer years than people realize.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I started looking at alternates, and I won't get into specifics, but we had a whole plan for the entry portal this year, and that fell through.
Right.
And it fell through not devastatingly close to this because we had months and months of a heads up, but it was clear that, oh, shit, this isn't going to work this year. So we got to come up with a plan B. And so doing the entry portal to the Hall of Shadows, it's a big task. It's a larger than normal display.
Right.
It's not necessarily a walkthrough attraction because you got to get people in and out of the hall.
I would always say it's a good. It sets the tone.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what sets that
it's the
tone.
portal. I call it the portal.
The portal to set the tone.
Into
Yeah.
it. And so, not every haunt, in fact, most haunts aren't necessarily equipped to do that.
Right.
Which is why we tapped on cow haunts year after year, because it wasn't just one haunt doing it. It wasn't Rotten Apple doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was Rotten Apple and 5 or 6 other haunts
Right.
coming together to make this portal, right?
Yeah.
So, as much as I love Pirate's Cave, they would be hard-pressed to do the entire entry portal
Right.
into the Hall of Shadows. Jacob and his dad and some friends. That's a lot of work.
Especially what they've done with the haunt alone.
And they're not necessarily set up for that. They're a walkthrough, right?
Right.
So then you go to, okay, another great display would be the haunt with no name yet.
Right.
They're fantastic, but their scale is too small
Right.
to be the entry point for Hall of Shadows. So then you got to think about, well, who is equipped to handle the scale? And it was very clear to me that Fear Farm
Mm-hmm.
was one of the only groups that we dealt with that could handle that, and that was crazy enough to handle that and say, yes,
And they've been coming to the event the last couple of years. They've been killing it.
And every year, it's like their facades
Huge.
are ridiculous.
Huge.
Like stupid.
The biggest in the Hall of Shadows.
Oh yeah, the biggest
down.
facades we've ever had.
Exactly.
And so yeah, it was very apparent that okay, these guys are going to be the ones. So I tapped Rick early on about this, and of course he said, "Sure, what do you need?" And their can-do spirit is so great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a family that haunts together and stays together, and we just love them because they're really good people.
Right.
And their team is so energetic and dedicated, and they just love doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so they said, yep, let's do it. And we kind of, going off of the theme of a haunting, which is the theme for Midsummer,
Right.
I came up with, because there's always kind of like a sub-theme then for the Hall of Shadows.
Right.
And I said, then to go hand in hand with that, let's go with Spirits and Legends. That rolls off the tongue nice. It's a very broad window because Spirits and Legends could be just about anything. So that works for us. And what Fear Farm has up in Phelan, which is the high desert, they had a huge ghost town.
Yes,
as part of their haunt, right?
I've seen this.
And so then the subject was, well, Rick, what do you think about doing a very confusing because I'm Rick and Rick Boker is Rick.
So Rick and Rick.
Yeah, don't say a pair of dicks. That's not going to hand. But it's 2 Ricks, Rick squared. So I said to Rick, would you guys be willing to do a ghost town entryway? I think that is great. To me, just what I like, it's like, nothing says Spirits and Legends to me than like a ghost town. Like
Right.
that's it. Because you instantly think of ghost town at Knott's, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And Rick was instantly on board and said, yeah, let's do it, man. That's great. So we named it Duskfall Hollow. and gave it kind of a little backstory just to set it all up. And that will be the entrance into the Hall of Shadows through this old Western gateway, and it's going to be fantastic.
I am excited. I mean, I've been seeing the little advertisements on social media through the Midsummer Scream official Midsummer Scream Instagram page, and it's just been the exciting.
That's our Hall of Shadows rollout. We roll out everything. Yep.
I love seeing that and seeing all the haunts that are coming. I mean, you got Drex Society coming and doing Scooby Doo.
Always, Sean and his team are always fantastic. We love them.
We love Sean, and I'm so excited to see what they do with Scooby Doo. I mean, I think everyone who's been a Scooby Doo fan has been waiting for a haunt like this, so can't wait to see what they do. Huge one though for you, first time ever, Lionsgate. Horror is coming to the Hall of Shadows.
Yeah.
I mean, Plague Productions, you got the cookbook behind it. I mean, how did this one? This is a first for the Hall of Shadows.
Yeah, this is crazy. So this was a multifaceted venture here and happening. So Lionsgate came to Midsummer last year and had a really, really great presentation. They had a really good time. The fans had a really good time.
By the way, I think you guys were the ones that got to exclusively drop that trailer first before they released it to the public.
I wouldn't know because I wasn't there.
I didn't get to make the panel,
so tell
but
me all about it, man.
I didn't get to make the panel, but from what everyone told me, they did the announcement for they showed a trailer.
Sounds about right.
And I mean, I think that was the world exclusive trailer first at Midsummer Scream, and then they released it because I didn't saw it on social media like after the panel was over. I'm like, that is awesome.
There was that does bring back memories, of production memories, because I know that they were going to show that, and I know that we had to make sure that Gary Baker, who is our executive producer, and his company, Call Brothers, they do all the AV for the show.
Yeah.
And so, huge shout out to Gary and his team for the amazing grand ballroom.
Gary just
stage.
lives in the ballroom that whole weekend.
He does.
He does.
And it will be beautiful this year.
I bet.
And we had to make sure that there is a projection standard of equipment to show trailers.
Oh, wow.
And so dealing with a movie studio and all that, it was a whole new dimension of learning like regulations as far as what equipment they need to project. So it was a thing.
Right.
And so there was a lot of work that went into that presentation. It was a very popular presentation. And Lionsgate came away going, this is great. We got to do something more, next year. And so that is one of those conversations that carries from year to year. And that was a relationship that David Markland brought to Midsummer and fostered. Because the idea was he was kind of shepherding their panel presentation.
Right.
And also he handles, we all kind of handle everything, but we have our own little sandboxes within handling everything.
Yeah.
And so handling the show floor, he was also discussing, them having a really big installation on the show floor.
That was really fun, by the way.
And so the discussion came about, well, what are we going to do on the show floor this year?
Okay.
And early on, as David and I talked about things, I said, it'd be great if they could do something in the Hall of Shadows. That would be kind of cool. Because we have had studios in there. We had Warner Brothers.
Right.
They set up a big thing in the Hall of Shadows years ago and had a great time doing it. And I said, why wouldn't Lionsgate rather have show lighting and the dark and everything to really play up their horror franchises? And, for a while it was like, no, they really just want to be on the show floor and maybe work on a presentation. They were kind of figuring out what they wanted to do.
Right.
And somewhere between there and a month or two later, John Cook was tapped by Lionsgate to create their display for the show floor.
Okay.
And all the while, I'm still the squeaky wheel in the background going, it would be really, really cool to have them in the Hall of Shadows, type of thing. And especially when I learned that John was going to do that.
I love John Cook so much.
I kind of got squeakier and was like, it really would be great to have them in the Hall of Shadows, type of thing. And I'm still at that point thinking display.
Right.
Static display with, maybe a saw thing, whatever they're
Right.
going to do. And what was really great was the fact that John was on board to do whatever their widget was going to be for this year. And unbeknownst to me, John's telling them, we really want to be in the Hall of Shadows. That's the place to be,
Right.
And so that was great, because I'm hitting up David all the time about Hall of Shadows. John's hitting up everybody on his end about, it'd be really great to be in the Hall of Shadows. Because I go way back with John.
Right.
My relationship.
Back to his scaring days.
Well, my relationship with John, predates his gig at Knott's and all
Right.
that stuff. So I've watched his career, blow up in the haunt industry, and I've always wanted him, to do something in the Hall of Shadows. But
right.
what? It's not like Knott's is going to build a haunt back there.
Yeah.
Although they could.
Knott's, looking at you.
Looking at you. But, and I know that he's always wanted to do something
Right.
in the Hall of Shadows. He's done installations and things around Midsummer, but never in the Hall of Shadows.
New playground
And
for him.
so it was just like, all right, you know what? This is it, man. The planets are aligning. We got Lionsgate. We've got John. We've got the Plague Productions team. Come on, man. And one day or night, David texted me and he said, they're going to do Hall of Shadows.
That's awesome.
And it was just like, oh, great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And only then did it sink in, oh, it's going to be a walkthrough.
Wow.
Because I was still thinking it's going to just be a big elaborate display.
Right.
Oh, no. It's a full-blown walkthrough. And, I can't divulge anything here. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. Just the excitement alone.
Yeah. John has, from what I've seen and what I believe, John has created something for the Hall of Shadows and for Lionsgate that is just as good as anything that you will see at Knott's or Universal this year.
Really?
It's going to blow people's minds that this is created just for the convention for a
this
weekend.
is the same guy who gave us Cinema Slasher, though.
Oh, dude, John's work
Dark
is...
Ride.
John is one of the best in the industry.
Easily.
Arguably the best going right now. So
100%. I can't
what
wait.
what they're doing is really great. So Gears of Fear is going to be the name of this thing. And, yeah, can't wait for everybody to see it. And I can't wait to see it.
I'm excited.
The
concept art looks amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And believe me, the concept art you guys haven't seen looks amazing.
The concept art we've
you know,
seen, though,
yeah.
I mean, so many Easter eggs on that one alone,
Yeah.
which was fun to pick apart just to see that.
Yeah.
And to kind of see, the excitement, I think, for us, and, Sammy and I talked about this, was when we saw Plague Productions' name on there, because we live by the cookbook. We love the cookbook. That's like the Bible of the Nights of Horror here of haunt.
Yeah.
And, just to see his involvement with it and then to hear your excitement about it, I
Yeah.
mean, it's getting us all going and we're all excited. And,
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that we are very hyped for, man, and we cannot wait to see that in person, especially Lionsgate. They have such a great catalog of horror
Yeah.
films. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, what's really great about this also, and another thing that really it just didn't sink in until fairly recently, was I was under the assumption, and you know what they say about assuming, I was under the assumption that John was designing this thing and that it was being fabricated here in Southern California or whatever. Oh, no. It's all being fabricated at Plague Productions in Georgia.
wow.
It's
And he's
all
gonna bring
going to
it
be
out.
packed up and put on a semi and trucked 2,000 miles across the United States to Long Beach and driven right into the Hall of Shadows in the semi-truck
Wow.
and unloaded, which is mind-blowing. I mean,
It's already at Long Beach right now.
oh, no. It's being...
It's on its way.
Is it en route now? No.
It's already being built.
It's being built right now.
Yeah.
And right at the last minute, they're packing it all
Wow.
up, and then they're rolling it out here, like literally days before
Wow.
installation. Installation starts on Wednesday of that week, so they will be there Wednesday morning.
Wow.
And That's
And
unbelievable to me, right?
That is insane.
Like it was a big deal when we had an out of state haunt, last year.
Right.
From Colorado.
A great haunt, by the way.
Right, yes, of course. I thought, well, that'll never happen again. And here we go.
Lionsgate comes in.
Here comes this huge, full-fledged plague production haunt from Georgia. So, wow. Now,
Man.
I don't know that, I don't know that will ever happen again. I don't, who knows what the future holds.
Right.
But it's mind-blowing that, I figured, that's it. Like Colorado's going to hold that. That's going to be that's going to be the watermark, right?
Right.
For years. And now it's like, now we have this semi-rig coming. That's, to me, that is exactly what the Hall of Shadows was created for.
Right.
Yes, it is a showcase that inevitably spotlights haunters primarily from Southern California, just because logistics.
Right.
Right.
I mean, SoCal's the place to be.
Well, and logistically, right? Like, it's already really expensive for these haunters to bring the stuff in their U-Hauls.
Yeah.
So the idea of haunts coming from all over the United States and theoretically the world is something that long-term we've really wanted at Midsummer. Logistically, it's not very common and not very doable.
Right.
But seeing that kind of start to evolve now, for me, is really exciting. Because the idea wasn't always just, this is all Southern California. This is it. No, it's open to everybody.
Yeah.
And we want it to become a very big international type destination.
Another perfect example of that, what you guys did at Midsummer Scream, was, I believe, in 2019 with the Halloween Horror Nights panel. You guys had Mike Aiello come out, and that's a Florida creative.
That was something that I wanted to happen for years.
And it finally did, and it was honestly probably one of my favorite Halloween Horror Nights
It took a
panels.
long time, and it was great to have Mike out.
Yeah.
The fans completely vibed with Mike.
He's great.
And it was wonderful. That was one of my favorite Horror Nights presentations.
Mine too. It was great.
It was great, and that was.
I believe that was the same.
That was in the works for a long time. That was something that I wanted to happen for a long time.
I believe also that was the same Halloween Horror Nights panel where they came out and said they would probably not ever try to attempt to do A Quiet Place as a maze. And
well, there you go.
Welcome to 2024. Oh, man. I mean, on top of the Lionsgate thing, Decade's coming back.
They are.
They got 3 totally different shows at 3 different times. I mean,
4 shows.
4 shows.
Friday night.
They're doing an exclusive.
They are doing an exclusive Friday night show at 9 p.m.
Okay.
On their runway.
Nice.
That's going to be different than anything else that they do the rest of the weekend.
Okay.
So this will be the first time that Decade has performed on Friday night.
Right.
And so it's just the next step in the evolution of Midsummer, in the evolution of Hall of Shadows. It just was something that we ask all the haunters to come in and spend the week knocking themselves out building their haunts and then being open on Friday night. So we figured we got to activate the Decade Brigade runway is the largest single footprint of anything in the Hall of Shadows.
Right.
To not have that activated when everything else is seemed to be kind of a deficit for me. And so this was the year, and I asked the team. The team was all on board. And then it was the question of, well, what does it want to be? You don't want to necessarily pick one of the shows from the weekend and do it. So what can we do that's special Friday night? And so they came up with a whole other show.
Nice.
Called Run It. That's going to be an amazing exposition on Friday night.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Decade always comes in hot and heavy with those shows. And they're easily, you can't have a Hall of Shadows without a Slider show. It has to be there.
It's great.
Yeah.
And that is something that I wanted since the inception of this stuff. In fact, it was with Scare LA. And that, I'm sure we've talked about this before, that just comes from my time in the 90s and early 2000s, watching the sliders and the monsters mess around before the hanging in Calico Square.
I remember those days.
Right. And doing the limbo and all the just crazy bullshit that they used to do.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted that at our show because obviously what they do now is very different from what was happening then.
Right.
But it's still in the same vein of craziness and fun.
Yeah.
And so for younger people that never saw that, they just know that they're going to see a world-class sliding exposition.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Older folks like me get to relive the warm, fuzzy feelings that we had from seeing the beginning of the hanging all those decades ago at Scary Farm, and that gets to be revived, every year at Midsummer. And so that was something that I will always be very happy that I accomplished in bringing the sliders to our shows.
I mean, there's a stacked Hall of Shadows this year with so many great things to experience. I think something for everyone at the very least. You know what I mean? And so much hype and excitement. A lot of new things coming in. A lot of familiar faces returning with new projects.
Yep. Santa Ana Haunt's going to be brand new this year.
I mean, I love Chewy.
Yep.
Chewy's great.
He's great.
He's great. Shout out to Chewy, too. 7 months sober. Good for him. He just put that on his
that's
Instagram.
Fantastic. I didn't see that yet. Okay.
Good for him.
That's awesome.
Very happy for him. That's a big accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see him at Midsummer. Santa Ana Haunt, always a great one. They always bring it to the table, man.
They do.
And he continues to every single year.
They're fantastic, and they are. So last year, Fear Farm had the themed bar incorporated into their castle facade, right? It was the Hole in the Wall Tavern last year. So this year it's going to be part of the Santa Ana Haunt.
Okay.
And it's called the Happy Huntings bar. And what will be great is that it's going to be part of this decrepit warehouse. It's an industrial-looking warehouse.
Okay.
And inside, horrible things are going on.
As they do.
In the haunt. Very, very, very hostile vibes. Not hostile as in hostile, but hostile as in the movie.
Yeah.
That and kind of Purge.
Okay.
Had a love child type of thing. And that theme carries into the Happy Huntings bar. And we're going to have, themed cocktails in there. There's going to be the high boy tables with stools for people to actually sit and rest their feet for a little bit in there.
Yes.
Which is something that just doesn't exist in the Hall of Shadows and is much needed, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice little reprieve. And this is for our guests 21 and older. No kids allowed.
No kids allowed.
And what's going to be really great is Chewy has brought interactive elements to the bar. So people, as they're enjoying their friends and cocktails or whatever they're doing in there, they're going to get a chance to mess with people that are going through the haunt.
That's fun.
Which, who doesn't love that?
Who doesn't love to be a little evil genius there?
So huge shout out to Chewy and his crew. They're bringing it really hard this year, and can't wait to see Santa Ana.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can we get a Frankenstein slot machine in there as well?
We'll see what we can do.
Oh man, I'm every year I get excited for Midsummer Scream, especially when the stuff starts rolling out, and everything, and we start getting more and more info about it, and we start hearing the haunts announce stuff, which adds to the excitement of, maybe they'll talk about that at Midsummer Scream, or maybe the speculation of Midsummer Scream. It's always been the best time of the year. July is always that, we always get together. We always do this, and this is always one of my favorite podcasts of the year too, just to catch up and have a great time. And I'm excited, dude. You guys got a stacked Midsummer this year.
The dynamic, something that you just said that I thought about that has changed. So, Scare-O-Lay, when we created that, we decided that it was going to be in the summertime because back then, that's when these companies started announcing their haunts.
Right.
And so it was by design. It was baked in to this.
Yeah.
That's when we want to have the show, because these companies will come and use our stage as the launching platform.
Yep.
Right? And that carried obviously into Midsummer, which is also why it's called Midsummer. because it's in the middle of summer, because that
Right.
also is the way that, in 2016, when we started Midsummer, that's still how it was done.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. Now, by the time Midsummer rolls around, everything is pretty much announced because Halloween starts like the week after. You know what I mean?
If you're in Florida, August 30th.
There you go. So it starts, so we've kind of, and God help me, I got to use the word pivot. We've pivoted a bit because it's not about the announcements so much as it is the deep dive into
Right.
said announcements.
Behind
now.
the scenes of what we can see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be, the discussion between us and the parks used to be, what are you holding for Midsummer? What special guest can you bring? Blah, 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 type of thing. Now, it's just a matter of talk about whatever you're going to talk about. That's great. If you have a special guest, like a Slash, we need to know
Yeah.
for security protocols and logistics-wise of getting people into the building and out of the building and all
Greg
that.
B. Harold came on. That was a fun one when Greg B. Harold came out.
So it really is a matter of not so much the thrill of what's the surprise going to be anymore. It really is, what are they going to get into?
Right.
And really, how is the sausage made?
Right.
Because that's what those fans are showing up really to see. And as this change started happening, it was concerning.
Right.
Because you're like, well, shit, if everybody's kind of like announced everything, like, who's going to come?
Right.
And we consistently get bigger and bigger crowds. So it doesn't matter. Like, we've learned just by the evolution of it, we've learned that, nah, it's okay. If Universal doesn't announce something, the room's still going to be packed and standing room only.
Yeah.
Because they want to hear what John has to share
Yeah.
and show.
Yep.
And so that's great. That's it. That was just a little side tangent.
No,
As you were
and
talking about, the announcements and all that. It's just kind of funny because that used to be one of our principal, like, do or die cornerstones of what Midsummer was.
Right.
Because, we kind of coined, we're the gateway drug to Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And so kicking off Halloween, that's got to be like, we've got to have announcements. Not so much. We've learned about that. We've learned it doesn't, yeah, it's nice. It's always a nice to have. It's always a nice to have.
Yeah.
Not necessary. And so...
No, because like you said, John Murdy can come on and do a whole hour-long presentation of just the behind-the-scenes of one maze and not announce one thing, and people will still leave satisfied.
Standing room only.
They'll leave satisfied. It'll be packed because they want to hear what that maze is going to include, the concept arts, all that stuff.
So that's one thing that has taken a lot of stress out of the process for us.
Yeah.
Which is nice because there's a million other things that are stressful, but not being like just, chewing our nails off going, oh my God, they're announcing so much. Slow down, they're announcing too much.
Right.
Now it doesn't matter. As we've learned, no one cares.
Dude,
it doesn't matter. People aren't going to be like, oh, I can't believe they're not going to announce anything. I'm not going to see that. No, people still line up and they go.
It's because it's more. I would say it's more than just announcement. A lot of the people that line up there, they're the diehard fans that've been going for years, and they just want to see and support what they're doing this season.
Again, it's community.
Yeah, it's all it is.
It's being there. It's being in the room.
Yep, 100%.
Being in the room where it happens, right?
100%. For those who are interested, obviously tickets are on sale now for Midsummer Scream, so definitely get your tickets. I can't wait. It's gonna be a stacked Midsummer Scream. But pivoting now to something that I've been taking notice for, a place you and I very much hold very dearly to our hearts.
I wonder where this could be.
Las Vegas, Nevada. The horror scene, the haunt scene is very much starting to pop up more and more in the coming years. Vegas itself is now, of course, the entertainment capital of the world. And you have so many events coming from F1. We've had Super Bowls there. All these sporting events coming. But with that, of course, the haunt scene is coming as well. We're starting to see more and more escape rooms that are themed to these horror movies. Saw, Blair Witch, It. Stranger Things has a store on the Strip. There are, obviously, in the art district, they have a lot of shows, horror-based shows and stuff like that. Horror Nights is coming out with Horror Unleashed next year. Rick West, where do you see yourself put your fingerprint on that one right there? Because there is a lot.
In the middle of all of it in
Yeah.
Vegas. It's no secret to anybody that's listened to me yap at all. Vegas is where my heart is,
Mm-hmm.
and there are definitely big plans in the immediate future to make that a bigger thing in my life.
Right.
Vegas has a really cool haunt scene. And they've had a haunt scene for years.
Right.
They do have more and more home haunters and pro haunters around the valley. They just don't know it because there isn't anything there that is kind of a connective tissue.
Right. To bring everyone
during
together.
the year or
Yeah.
at Halloween. So the need is there for a group or somebody to get in there and kind of become the hub of the wheel
Yeah.
and to draw all these people together.
Right.
And I kind of have some familiarity with that and some experience in doing that kind of thing. I think that it is overripe and definitely time for that to happen in Las
Now
Vegas.
more than ever, I think. Yeah.
I want to have a serious hand in making that happen in Southern Nevada. And I think that it's very easy to see that once that community really gels and becomes a united front, the bridge between Southern Nevada and Southern California isn't that big. I mean, it's a small gap.
Yeah.
And to have those two communities working in lockstep together, that's a haunt powerhouse. That's a powder keg waiting to go off.
Yep.
And I have big plans to be part of that, want to be part of that, and I'm very excited about what that could all be. Yeah, I mean, we got a whole other podcast if we want to talk about just Vegas stuff.
Yeah.
No,
but I think you're right. I mean, there is a definite increase. And like you said, there are things out there that people don't even know about. That are probably just for the locals of that area, you know, and just to give them a taste of something like that. But those people that they probably actually came from California. A lot of people have moved into California, from California to Nevada. And, I talk to people all the time when I vacation out there of how many people that you've actually seen within the last couple years move out to Nevada.
Yeah.
And it is insane. I love to see, we got to see the construction for the new Horror Unleashed by Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And
I saw that on your social media.
It looks incredible. Yeah. I can't wait to see what they do with that much space. What's your thoughts of this, man? I mean, this is, it's a good place to have it, but can it work with everything that Vegas has to offer?
Yeah, so this is a complicated discussion to have. And we'll try to uncomplicate it as much as possible. I will say going into this discussion that I have just as much knowledge as you do.
Right.
As to what it's going to be.
Right.
I know that it's at Area 15, which is on the other side of the freeway from the Strip. It is going to have a couple haunts. It's going to have maybe a bar and a restaurant, maybe. It's going to have shopping, of course. And that's all I know.
That's all anyone, I think, knows right now.
So
yeah, you're right.
That's all I know. What I do know is that the Las Vegas market is very challenging when it comes to having your business model, if you're an entertainment venue, be based on drawing people away from the Strip.
Yes.
To your location.
Difficult thing to do in Las Vegas.
This is not walkable from the Strip.
Nope.
It's not on the Strip.
Nope.
And it's in an area of town where, unless you're specifically going there, you ain't passing through.
No.
That's their first challenge. The second part of that is that this is not the first professional level haunt that's gone into Las Vegas. Eli Roth had a very large attraction on the Strip called the Goratorium, and that opened across from what is now City Center, and it didn't last a year before it closed. And that was for many reasons, but the most obvious of those reasons, when you get down to it, is they didn't understand the market. You would think, oh man, you got thousands and thousands of new people coming in every day to Vegas.
Yeah.
And you do. And if you're on the Strip and you're an attraction like that, and it was a really beautiful attraction. It was really, they didn't miss a trick. It was really, really well done.
Okay.
The way that it was run was the problem.
Yeah.
It started out as affordable, which is great.
Right.
You have thousands. I always say that, every day is Saturday night in Las Vegas.
It is.
Right?
Never closes.
Every day is Saturday night. Everybody lands there by the plane load looking to have a great time and burn through money.
Every day
right?
of the week. Yeah.
And so you have a constant stream like ants going up and down the Strip with people just dying to burn their cash on something, right? So when you have a haunted attraction that's on the Strip, that's really well done, has a big name behind it like Eli Roth,
right?
You figure that's got to be a cash cow, right? Once you breach that $20, $24, $99 level and start getting greedy and saying, well, no, we got to charge $40 for this. No, $45. No, we need to charge
double, triple,
$65 for this.
Triple, double, yeah.
That's where you start getting into trouble, because how many times do you walk through Vegas, don't think twice about putting a 20 into a slot machine and banging away for a few minutes?
Yeah. It's a hard thing to do.
But you walk by and put $60 in a slot machine. That's a little bit more than an impulse. That's part of your budget.
Yeah.
For Vegas, right?
Right.
And if you're there with a girlfriend or a partner or friends or whatever, suddenly that number's multiplied.
Yep.
Right? So the problem that they need to overcome is they need to figure out what the sweet spot is as far as price point.
Right.
It's my opinion that if Universal goes in charging universal prices, that will work for the first month, and then no one's coming, because they're going to have to really, really appeal to the locals. And it can't be the Jurassic Park, oh, we'll have a special discount coupon, we'll have a discount day. No. You're going to have to appeal to the residents of Las Vegas year-round.
And that's what you were meaning by you have to treat the locals fair, too.
Yeah. So locals, they'll go see a $60 attraction maybe once, right? They ain't going to go do it more than once.
Unless someone from out of town comes like once a year.
Maybe.
And that's even if they're into
it, So if you drop the price point down to a doable level, and maybe even more so, show your Nevada license, show your Vegas license, and you get a 10% discount on top of
just for being a resident
already, right?
Yeah.
They have to understand this. If they're going into this, and again, I don't know. I literally don't know one person working on the project. If they go into this thinking, oh, not a problem, we do this at our theme parks, we know how to do this, they're in big trouble already.
You do it for 2 months of the year.
You have to go in and you have to understand what Vegas is.
Right.
These resorts, they're not built to have you come check in and then leave to go somewhere else. They are built for you to check in and stay. That's why they have movie theaters, they have
pools,
shows,
all that
pools,
stuff. Yeah.
Restaurants,
Casino.
nightclubs. They don't want you to leave.
Nope.
So, that said, an attraction that is off strip like that, that's already niche. Like, you're going to have more family appeal, more broad appeal if you open, a miniature golf course somewhere, right? Or a water park somewhere,
and they just did right there next to Circus, that whole Top Golf.
So if you open something that has a broader appeal, while we love the horror industry and haunt industry, that's still fairly niche as far as who's going to go to Vegas to go to a haunted attraction.
It's true.
So they have to figure out the balance of who they're appealing to, how they're going to appeal, how they're going to price this out so that it can be successful year-round, not just its first month, and how they keep it fresh. Universal is going to have to continuously update and refresh this because once you have tourists that come and go and do it, and that's great. But if you want repeatability from locals, you need to change it up at least once a year. You got to rotate things in and out. At the very least,
like one maze. Yeah, like you said, rotate a maze or you know what I hear.
Otherwise, they're not going. Because guess what? They're going to hop in their car and they're driving 4 hours here to go to Knott's and to go to Horror Nights.
Yeah.
They don't need to go to that thing that's in their backyard because it hasn't changed in 2 years.
This is only happening for 2 months of the year, so we're going to see what they have to offer. You know, it's like
another thing that's a little concerning to me, and maybe it's not a big deal, was learning that at least the last time I talked to anybody that kind of knew about this, it appears that this is all coming out of Florida.
Yeah, creative team, I think, out there, yes.
I may be naive in saying this. I may be giving people an aha moment. I would think that people that are in Southern California, i.e. Universal here, would maybe be more familiar with the ins and outs of Las Vegas from going and maybe growing up going or being frequent visitors than being 3,000 miles away
on the other side of the country
in an office saying, okay, well, let's plan this for Las Vegas. I just really hope that whoever is on this understands the nature of the beast. I don't want another goratorium happening in Las Vegas, because anytime an attraction opens and then fails, it makes it that much harder for the next attraction like that to open, because everybody starts thinking, no, haunted attractions don't work in Vegas. They haven't worked. I mean, Eli Roth and the Goratorium, they were on the Strip. They couldn't even make it work. How's anybody else going to... It can work, and it will work. It just has to be done right. So that is my long-winded response to that. My fingers and toes are crossed.
Yep.
That Universal is very successful in Las Vegas. I think it is a great boon for Las Vegas and for locals, and tourists alike. It brings on jobs. I know there are a lot of people in Vegas that love being haunters, and so it will bring on jobs, and that's great for the economy also in Las Vegas. I think that if they had to have an off-strip location, I think that Area 15 is an excellent candidate.
Me too.
While it's not on the Strip, it still is kind of within a stone's throw.
On the other side of the 15,
of the Strip.
Yeah.
So while it's not walkable, it is very easily rideable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can leave the Strip and you'll be there in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you don't hit traffic.
Tell me about it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We're in a big wait and see, I wish them nothing but success in Vegas. Too. And that's really all I got to say about that.
Well, what you just talked about too is like I always advocate this on the channel. We don't say what may sound to a lot of people negative or comments like that. We're saying this based on constructive criticism because we don't want to see haunts go out of business. We want to see
reality.
It's the reality. We want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
And that's it's constructive criticism. We're just. Yeah. We care that much that we want to voice our opinions to, and I'm on the same boat. This needs to succeed because we need to have. I mean, I'm thinking right now the ones who kind of did that off-season haunt and they're killing it. Scream Break is doing a great job, and they're kind of testing the waters to see how that works out. I'm hoping. I have a lot of hope for this year-round Horror Nights, especially put on by Universal, but. There, like you said, there is specific markets that come out, the demographics that come out there specifically to do one thing, and that's just have a good time and drink.
Yeah.
And that's usually your market for Vegas. So, again, you're gonna have to cater to them some specialty drink or something. They're gonna have specialty cocktails and everything. They
should have a fantastic bar.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for them not to have just a balls out, amazing themed horror bar.
A Universal Monsters themed horror bar would be amazing.
They've got to, right?
Yeah, they have to.
How would you not? Like, why? There's so many things you could do. You could set it up like Frankenstein's laboratory.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. They own it. Why not exploit it?
Have the bar like a middle bar, and then on the top you actually have a mannequin of Frankenstein every now and then does like a little show
or
effect.
a Tesla coil, right, with the electricity.
A little effect every now and then.
Jacob's ladder, going up like that.
The possibilities are endless.
It can happen. It can work.
Yeah.
It can also fail.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, people get so wrapped up in the hype about it. Vegas is tough.
It is.
Right? Vegas is tough. There is no guarantee that any company can be successful there.
Yeah.
You know, because your main competitor is Vegas.
I'll tell you,
You know?
this. There's no guarantee that athletic stadium is going to work there when they open it.
If it even gets built. That's a whole other discussion, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's if it even gets built.
Yeah.
So, no, because there is not one entity that exists in Vegas that's going to say, "Oh yeah, go to Universal and spend money. Go have fun.
Yeah.
We'll be here when you get back." Nobody wants another attraction to compete with their dollars.
Yeah.
So, it's not a given.
No.
Universal is a big brand.
Yeah.
It's a big deal that they're opening a Horror Nights attraction in Vegas. It's not a guaranteed
Not
success.
a guarantee, though.
We want to see it we want to see it succeed, but it's not a guarantee.
No.
And that's just being real.
No, 100%.
Right? That's being on the real. That's not being negative Nelly or anything like that.
That's just the constructive criticism of
That
the business.
that is the reality.
Yeah, that's just the business right
They
there.
had the Goratorium on the Strip in a prime location. It failed within a year.
What about
They had the zombie thing downtown on Fremont Street. That closed.
Fright Dome?
Fright Dome at Circus, that was kind of a whole different thing. But, I mean, haunted attractions in Vegas that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because, again, your competitor is Vegas. And that's really hard. And it's not just one season out of the year. It's every night, every day out of the
24/7.
year. It's Vegas being your competitor. And there's always something brand new to see and do in Vegas.
Especially all these clubs opening up, restaurants opening up, all these experiences. You know, it's constantly evolving. It's like Walt Disney took his magic over there. They'll never stop construction.
Yeah.
It's going to keep evolving, you know, and it is. And new hotels come and go.
And it's wonderful.
It is. It is. It really is. And
it was funny because when I was talking to you while you were on your trip, I told you that one thing I did want to touch on, and boy, we're going in a million different directions, kids.
Hey, it's the fun of it.
So I could talk Vegas day and night. But
Hey, we did the first hour of business. Now we're having fun.
there we go. So the interesting thing about Las Vegas is I've never met a haunter or a haunt fan that says, "No, I'm not into Vegas." It always seems to go hand in hand.
Yep.
And I've thought about this a lot, and I think it's because both Halloween, haunted attractions, and Vegas are over-the-top entertainment.
Yeah.
They are a constant visual and audio bombardment of
Yep.
the senses. The parallels are pretty striking
Yeah,
when you
100%.
think of haunts and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what, at the core, suddenly it got very deep. I think that at the core, that appeals
Yeah.
to that type of individual, right? It doesn't matter what the theme is. It doesn't matter what the flavor is. It's just a whole lot of this. It's a whole lot of big this, a lot of flashy this, and we're hooked, right?
Exactly.
So I think that is the parallel. I think that is the very interesting parallel between Halloween and haunted attractions, Midsummer Scream, and Las Vegas.
yeah.
It's just a constant go, go, go from start to finish.
Now, you talked about, and I know, and I got a lot of faith in it too. You talked about obviously the idea 50-50 of Horror Nights working out there.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's about what it is right now.
About a 50-50.
And I will say their building is a lot bigger than I had in my mind's eye. When you did the drive around video of the property,
Right.
I was shocked.
I did a full 360 because I
I
wanted
was
to see it
shocked
all the way
actually
around.
at how big that
Yeah.
venue is that they're
Yeah.
building specifically for this.
Yes.
And again, this is the common thread in this podcast. I don't envy them. I don't envy them because that's a whole. I saw that and I thought,
That's a
oh, that's
monster.
a whole lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's a whole.
That's a monster in there.
Whole lot of stress on a creative team somewhere out there.
What I didn't show in that video too is across the street when you make the turn to see the front facade of the building, they are building a big ass parking structure next to it too. And you can't do it. In my opinion, you have to. With the name that Horror Nights
Yeah.
does have, you're gonna have parking problems. Area 15 just doesn't hold that much people.
Well, Area
regardless.
15 as it is
Yeah.
has parking
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
So I think that the parking structure will serve all of Area 15.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that that's a smart move because
100%.
they continue to want to bring things on to Area 15.
They're doing a John Wick experience coming soon.
Yep,
Egan's doing it.
That's coming.
I'm excited.
And Jason is the one that does the themed escape rooms in Las Vegas.
Got a cameo in all of them.
So, I think that that's great. I will say, really sad that the Lost Spirits Distillery closed. That was such a great anchor attraction at Area 15.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was so great. And the ownership behind that was so good and so charismatic.
Right.
Fortunately, Eleonova and I got to visit Lost Spirits after the pandemic, and unfortunately, they just never recovered from being closed during COVID.
Very shitty time for everyone.
And it just really sucks because their product was great.
Yeah.
And I really hope that team rebuilds somewhere.
Yeah.
Hell, I'd love to see it come back somewhere in Vegas, But it started here in Los Angeles. Then there was a fire, and then they went to Las Vegas. Then there was a freaking pandemic. So I wish they could just catch a break.
Third time's the charm.
What they do is really great. And so I was surprised and very sad that just closed at Area 15. But everything else there seems to, Meow Wolf is great there. Omega Mart is really, really cool.
So fun.
That's a solid experience.
Yeah.
And
I think that's something you can go back and do a few times because there's just so much to it.
Yeah.
That you won't be able to experience it all in one first day.
And I would hope that Universal
does the same.
Was paying very close attention to Omega Mart.
Yeah.
And I hope that there were a lot of benchmarking trips out to Omega Mart to see how it operated.
Yeah.
And that seems to me that's a pretty cool blueprint business-wise as far as, pricing. And although Omega Mart's a little expensive too.
Yeah.
But, just offering a bunch of stuff,
mm-hmm.
I think that is very important.
Yeah.
When designing a large-scale attraction.
Right.
For a venue like Las Vegas. You got to have a lot of stuff crammed into there.
Yeah.
So that people don't get bored. So that people say, oh, we didn't see that last time. We'll do it next time.
That's how me and my girlfriend are. Exactly. We're already planning. Like, we didn't do this last time. Let's do it next time.
100%.
And
that's any trip to Vegas, right?
There's so much.
That's any trip to Vegas.
Yeah, any trip. You're already planning the next one.
But in designing a large-scale attraction there, that has to be baked into the plan is expansion and change.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I
so we wish them the best.
Yeah,
and we'll see. We're gonna see.
And so the question I have for you on top of that there was, and we've talked about this many times, can a convention work there? I mean, there is possibilities. I have walked that strip, and that was one of the things that was on my focus was like, so many of these hotels on the strip alone in downtown, they even have a whole convention center themselves, but all these have convention centers.
Yeah.
Can it work? Can the community come together? Are people going to click and vibe with it right away? Will the locals be attached to it? Is it possible to do a bringing together of a convention there?
The short answer is yeah. Absolutely.
100%.
There are a lot of really great venues.
Right.
Aside from, I'm not even thinking the convention center.
Right.
Like, every resort that's
has a convention
large
center.
scale has a convention space,
yeah.
Right? But then there are convention areas that are between that.
Right.
That are kind of out of the box thinking that would actually make really, really cool venues for events or for, a weekend show.
Mm-hmm.
100%. I've looked at them. I've been there in person looking.
Yeah.
And the wheels have been turning for years in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for horror things.
Yeah.
Las Vegas is the convention capital of the world.
Yeah. Everybody goes out to their conferences.
It sees the most conventions out of anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Every year. And there's a reason. It's because it's a very convention-friendly town.
Yeah.
They make it very easy to do events in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
There are horror-themed events,
mm-hmm.
Conventions and shows in Las Vegas. I've not personally ever been to any of them, I never want to disparage anybody, but suffice it to say, there are a lot of people that I know that do attend shows in Vegas, and the consensus is, it was all right. It was cool. The problem is that I see when I look at videos online or whatever, there's not a lot of there.
Gotcha.
Right? In my opinion, putting on a successful show goes way beyond having some vendors on a show floor. It goes way beyond having a stage with some live entertainment. It has to have personality. It's got to have its own backstory. It's got to have its own vibe.
Right.
It's got to have branding that gels with people, you know? And I think that in the right situation, with the right crew producing something, Las Vegas would be and is an excellent candidate for a horror convention.
That's all that was running in my head my entire vacation was, where? You know, I mean, I know it can happen.
Anywhere.
For real.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Literally, I was walking through Cosmopolitan, huge-ass convention center space. You know, I was walking through, I've walked through Plaza before, huge convention space. Luxor has a good-sized convention space. You know, I mean, all these hotels have a nice-sized convention space, and I think what the fun part about that is releasing everyone off, depending where you have it, onto the Strip, on downtown, and just having a good time afterwards. You know what I mean? There's so many restaurants. Everybody can go gamble, drink, have a good time, hang out with their friends, go to a club and dance around or whatnot. And, you know, depending on where you have it, Fremont, live entertainment on the, you know, on that little strip of casinos right there. So
without getting too much into the weeds, because this could be a really detailed conversation also.
Yeah.
But my gut reaction for something like that is, if I were given a budget, this is all sandbox mode, right? If I was given a budget and a team and said, go produce something for Las Vegas, the Strip would be probably the last place I would look, because the Strip. I think that downtown is ripe for something like that.
Fits the vibe.
I think that, you know, a lot of the locals casinos around the valley, they've got convention and event space.
Mm-hmm.
That's great because, again, if you're creating a show, let's say you're creating a show that's like a fraction of the size of Midsummer Scream.
Right.
You're not marketing to John and Jane Doe that are flying in from Kansas for the weekend that have never heard of you.
Right.
You are targeting the locals that live in Las Vegas. There's a whole lot of locals that won't go to the Strip.
They try to avoid it.
Maybe once a year they'll go if they're going to go see a show or, you know,
unless
whatever,
they've worked
right?
it. You know, it's like,
They're more prone to going downtown. They're more prone to going to the Arts District, which is blowing up.
Yes.
They are definitely more prone to going to a locals casino, whether it's something like Red Rock or on the other side of town, you know, Green Valley Ranch. There are myriad of locations.
Summerlin.
Where something could work.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, man.
So much.
I'm not worried about, I'm worried about, you know, not having enough time to do all the stuff that I want to do up in my head, you know.
All I can leave you with and end it with is, if you build it, they will come.
Well, and it's got to be good.
It's got to be good, yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to come once, and then you're going to have a one-year show, and that's it. You want to have something that builds momentum, builds a fan base, and, you know, I think that one of the magic ingredients for Midsummer Scream was when I agreed to join them in creating this show. I said that the focus for me always has to be on the community. It's always, we serve the community. And I've always said that Midsummer is the show that the community wants and, more importantly, deserves.
Yeah.
The minute you're there just to make money off of people, there are certain big shows that come into town that do that.
A lot of money.
There are shows that are just there as money makers for the people that own them, right? In my opinion, if you have something that is as well received as Midsummer Scream, and you start to forget that, or that kind of goes out of focus, you're going to be dead in the water very, very fast, because that sincerity then leaves the house, right?
Yeah.
As soon as the spirit is gone, people may not know, they won't be able to put their finger necessarily on it, but they'll know. The last thing you ever want to hear is, man, it used to be so much better. You're dead the minute people start talking like that, right? So it behooves Midsummer, it behooves any show to understand and never lose sight of the fact that you are there to serve the community.
Yep.
Not the other way around. You can't play God and say you're going to take this and like it.
Exactly.
Because that ain't the way that this community works.
You need to have the community love it on their own terms.
And everything else after that will fall into place.
100%.
So in creating something for Las Vegas, you have to appeal to that community. You have to be in love with that community. You have to really understand that community. And then I think that you have the platform to create something really long-lasting and really successful.
That's one, like I told you this earlier too, that's one of my favorite things to do when I go to Las Vegas, is to talk to the locals, to hear their thoughts, to hear their opinions about what they think about all this stuff coming to their city.
Yep.
And a lot of them, to be honest with you, are not happy about it. They don't want a lot of it because it's just causing more build and more traffic. We were late to our escape room at Chapter 2. It was a 5:10 reservation. We left our hotel at 4:30. There happened to be a big Brazil soccer game at freaking Allegiant Stadium. So what should have been a 15-minute car drive ended up becoming an hour car drive. And we missed our reservation, but we were able to reschedule it. Shout out to the very kind people over at the escape room. They were very helpful, and they walked us through everything. They're always such nice people there too. But that city's growing. And I talk to the locals, because who better than the locals? They know it better than anyone. And I especially the ones who have to work on the Strip and have to sit through that traffic. I even went as far to say sometimes in certain scenarios it's looking like LA status traffic. And certain scenarios. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, sometimes worse.
Yeah.
On a Friday or Saturday night, you will sit an hour per block on the Strip.
Yep.
No joke. That's not an exaggeration.
Oh, I can attest to that.
It'll take you an hour, because the city blocks are friggin' long in Vegas on the Strip, right?
Yep.
It will take you an hour to go from stoplight to stoplight.
Yeah, and it did for one of them for us. Yeah. I can attest to that for sure. But I just think that I think the community is there. The community is growing.
Yep.
And I feel like you're right. There needs to be something to bring them all together, to hear their voices, and to see what else Nevada has to offer other than just see what the horror scene there has to offer. Well, it's
great because, as far as the haunt and horror scene, it's there. They just don't necessarily know that each other exist.
Now we got to bring them all together, and one helps the other. And that's how it is here in SoCal. All these home haunts, they help each other.
Oh, yeah.
We need that same relationship out there in Nevada, and then we need to cross those bridges and make, like you said, that powerhouse.
That's the long-term dream, man.
I'm with it. I'm with it, and we're going to remind me after Midsummer Scream, we're going to come back and just do a Vegas podcast.
Let's do it, man.
Shoot the shit.
If there's one thing I don't ever shut up about, it's Las Vegas. So,
man.
yeah.
We will do a podcast after Midsummer Scream of just Vegas, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's go.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Should we get some fan questions? We have a few for you that
sure.
That we asked the fans on Instagram what they had question-wise for Rick West. We had some good ones come in. And we're going to start with our good friend, the Howling Hour, Rob. We love Rob. With Midsummer Scream, what's a yearly mindset going into each Midsummer Scream, and how does it keep it fresh?
So, that's a great question, first of all. Midsummer is like I've said, it's a long journey. It's a year and a half, 18-month-ish journey. Right. So we could have an idea, like, a couple of years ago I did the Monster Kids. I produced the Monster Kids panel,
Such a good panel, yeah.
That was something that I wanted to do since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that had been in my head for a long time. So these things percolate, and sometimes they have to simmer for a few years, right? So we take things and kind of do mental sticky notes about what we want to do. And we talk about it and say, no, that's not great this year, but, that's a really good fit maybe for next year.
Right.
Let's focus on that for next year. So that's automatically
on the Post-it note on the board.
More than 12 months out, right? So keeping it fresh isn't really it's not really a challenge. There are things that get more routine every year.
Right.
Like I said with the vendors, right? David no longer has to scramble to find vendors.
Right.
They seek Midsummer out.
Yeah.
There's already a waiting list, for next year for vendors, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that makes that part of the process more routine.
Mm-hmm.
Never mundane, but routine.
Right.
Right. I've already started engaging people for Hollow Shadows for next year.
Right.
This show at this point, we're 4 weeks out, and I can tell you at this point we are right now we are ordering our signage to have signage printed for the whole venue.
Okay.
We have final touches being put on the Hollow Shadows map. Okay. We have recorded introductions. Shout out to Menji.
Nice.
Recorded introductions I write them and he records them for the stage presentations.
I love those.
Those are being recorded right now. Other than that, like this year's already kind of
set in stone,
sealed and delivered, right?
Okay.
It's kind of ready, just like kind of rolling at this point on its own towards our opening night. There are little details, and there are a lot of little details still, but the big picture, the big idea, that's already old news to us. Like my mind is already next summer.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got the theme. If we're not going to use it for the whole show, I already know what the theme is going to be for Hall of Shadows for next year.
Yeah.
I've known that for months now.
That's awesome.
So I think that is what keeps us from going stale on things. It's that our head's always like a year and a half out.
Yeah.
This show, it's already old news. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
But it's already.
You're already looking next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're already getting the ingredients for next year's.
Now it's just
feast,
wait for the kids to open the presents on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So I think that the idea of how do we keep it fresh and how do we bring things. So a lot of things, like I said, they take years in some cases to bring to fruition.
Right.
And so that's what keeps us motivated.
Yeah.
Is knowing already, okay, we have this will be great next year, that'll be awesome next year. We're always thinking about next year.
Yeah.
And so, there's been discussions we've had some discussions as far as logistics and planning and all that several years out already.
Right.
So if we're talking about 2024, it's already done, man. That's already old
done.
News.
Yeah.
We're already
looking at 25.
We're already on 25
Wow.
and beyond.
Wow.
So that's how we that's how we keep from growing any moss.
It's always good to stay ahead of the game then,
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to, otherwise you can't bullshit that, right? You can't not know what you're doing.
Right.
And by now, I would hope we know what we're doing.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think that we do it pretty well. There's always room for improvement.
Game changer.
But I think that we learn, we evolve, and we step it up.
Yeah.
Look, a few years ago, we know that getting into the venue was an issue, right? It was a nightmare.
You guys
right? But that
that.
has changed.
Yeah.
And that has been addressed. And I think it was addressed very well last year. It's going to get even more smooth this year. So we learn as we go. There's no rule book. There's no instruction booklet on how to run a large scale convention.
Now I wanted to ask you, outside of that, going back to the Hall of Shadows, was last year doing it on a Friday kind of your test run to see how that would act and how that would be for a Friday, and to see, okay, we could do this every single year, because I know last year that was that first year that to get that Friday in the Hall of Shadows, it was awesome. It was great to go through. Was last year kind of your trial run for that to see if it would work out, or did you always know it was going to work out?
The answer is no. Last year was not the trial run for that. The trial run for that was Season Screamings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we did it. We installed the Hall of Yuletide Spirits.
Right.
We then had it open for our first night, because it was Season Screamings was a 3-day event.
Yes.
Right. That was the point when I said to David, we will do that with Midsummer Scream. So that happened before that even happened in Long Beach. Wow. So Season Screamings actually was the trial for that. Yeah, because I mean those haunters are in there at other than load-in day. Load-in day starts like at 6 or 7 a.m.
Right.
And these haunters are there until into the night.
Late nights, yeah.
And so they're installing and working their ass off. So to ask them to do that and then open and be scare actors and
all the stuff,
that's a lot. That's a huge ask. So the litmus test for that was Season Screamings.
But yeah, I think that, because to me that was such a genius idea to come in, and now you're doing it even a step further with Decade Brigade doing an extra show that Friday. So that's awesome. Yeah. My girlfriend Haysmere asked if you could give a general piece of advice to everyone whoever listens to any podcast you've done, anything, what would it be?
Hayes, that's a huge question. I'm going to assume that it pertains to running a show.
I would assume. Maybe.
I don't know. That's a whole big subject.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've gone in and had a colonoscopy and endoscopy, and before they put me out, I said, make sure that you do the endoscopy first. So that's my advice. Make sure the mouth is first. When you're in Vegas, always bet on black. I don't know. That's advice for Vegas.
I heard about that one.
But seriously, in putting together any event, whether it is a haunted attraction, she wants to do a haunted attraction.
Very much.
You have to listen to your heart, and you have to learn to follow your gut.
Yeah.
If everything that you do is created out of passion, I think that you are set up much better for success.
Right.
Than going in and simply making money. That's your business plan. Oh, we're going to have an event and we're going to rake in thousands.
Right.
That's the wrong attitude to go into any event.
Just money.
And that's maybe the creative in me talking, but I firmly believe that because, we went in and created Scare LA and then created Midsummer Scream as a passion project.
Right.
Right, because we loved Halloween.
Yeah.
We wanted to celebrate the community.
There we go.
And, obviously it's become this juggernaut event that is a very large-scale convention.
Yeah, it's up there with one of the best, 100%.
But it all starts with that spark of passion and enthusiasm and being real. Because, again, like I said, your guests, they're more in tune than a lot of people give them credit for. They may not know what the secret sauce is.
Right.
But they know that it is secret sauce in it, and they like it.
They want
more.
And
they keep coming back for more, right?
Yeah.
The minute you do things that lack passion or a sincere drive for showcasing and uplifting the community,
right?
Whatever it is. It could be an Elvis convention. I mean, whatever it is. You have to have that passion drive first and foremost. Otherwise, you're dead in the water before you even open. So my advice is, if you're going to do a show, if you're going to build an attraction, you got to approach it from a point of real. Yeah. You got to approach it from a point of who you are. I'm never going to produce a mathematicians gathering or a sports. I'm not a sports guy at all. Completely void of the sports gene. Sure, I could probably produce a sporting event or for fans or whatever, but there would be no there.
Yeah.
Because it's this intangible thing that lives in your heart and lives in your gut that guides you that I don't have. I lack that when it comes to those subjects.
Right.
So it would be a fool's errand for me to try to bullshit my way through that.
Right.
Because maybe it works in the short run, but it ain't going to work in the long run.
And then you see you build, obviously, help be a part of building Midsummer Scream.
Yeah.
And we see every single year, and we can see it, of how much passion and time, blood, sweat, and tears go into making Midsummer Scream. And in the end of the day, you guys are just like fans, just like us. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Everything you guys are seeing, everything
fans
they're
first.
everything that
Yeah.
they're announcing, everything, you guys are just as excited as we are, because
Yeah.
you're like, as a fan, we get to go witness that as well.
Yeah.
We get to go visit as fans and go check out all these extreme or all these awesome haunts.
Yeah.
Or if you're at a convention or other conventions or anything, you get to see all these vendors that you see at your convention.
Yeah.
Go visit. Obviously, I know you guys have a tradition of doing your home haunters every single year and taking your rounds to do all your home haunting, and I know that's a fun thing for you guys to do. So I mean, that right there,
That's very important to me.
yeah, 100%. And I see you, and
Always
and
have been.
There's
Because I love it,
there's
right?
at least one night where I will see you at one of
Yeah.
these haunts, and we run into each other and we catch up and we go through it, and
And that predates Midsummer. That's not like
yeah,
I'm not out there spending countless hours, hundreds of dollars in gas, everything, going all over Southern California and beyond to see over 100 haunts throughout the season because it's part of my Midsummer job description.
yeah.
It way predates Midsummer.
No, it's you.
And it's something that I have always, as a kid, I fell in love with. My grandfather would take me trick or treating in Rialto, where I first grew up, and it was, I've always said this, it was always that one house on every block that had the red party bulb screwed in and the scratchy ass, chilling, thrilling sounds of the haunted house playing in the window.
Yep.
And a lone jack-o'-lantern flickering on the dark porch.
Oh my god.
I gravitate. I made a beeline for that for as long as I can remember. I was never afraid of anything like that.
Right.
And so, that is just something that is part of me. It's part of my DNA.
Right.
And so that's something that I bring to the table when I work on something like Midsummer that
Beautiful.
it can't be replicated because nobody in their right mind would do that kind of haunt hopping,
Right.
Unless you really, really love it. And Elianova and I really, really love it.
Yeah.
You
guys make date nights out of it.
if
It's
we
awesome.
if we snapped our fingers and there was no Midsummer Scream, we would still do it.
yeah.
We would still be out there.
Oh yeah.
Every night, seeing as much as we could, because we love it. It's not part of my job description.
Yeah.
It's because it's who I am.
Yeah.
It's
That's
who
who
she
you've
is.
always been before Midsummer
So-
Scream. It goes even back to the TPA days
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And even before that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just you've seen it in your history going in.
Yep.
How much love and how much passion you've had for the industry and
And
everything.
all of that stuff
Yeah.
that I've collected in my heart and in my head and friendships that I've made, that all just simply came with me
Yeah.
to Scare LA, to Midsummer. Frankly, that's why I was invited to be part of Scare LA.
Right.
The creation was because I had that pull in the haunt community and the
Yeah.
knowledge of the community. And so, of course, when we decided to do Midsummer, it was because of that.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt that I had great relationships with all the theme parks and could say, hey, come with us to this new show that we're doing, you
Yeah.
know. But it's always been, to me, first and foremost, about the home haunters and the actual, the people that dress up their house not to be on a panel, not to be in somebody's documentary. They do it just because they enjoy doing it. They want to entertain the kids and the families in their immediate neighborhood. That's Halloween, man.
Well-
and so we celebrate that all season long by haunt hopping like we do.
Yes, and not to mention, a lot of these guys don't even charge a cent to
Oh no,
go in.
it costs them.
It's all donations.
It costs them hundreds, thousands of dollars
Yeah.
to do these home haunts now.
Yeah.
And they have the donation bucket out.
I always.
No one is making a killing off of the donation bucket,
No.
man. So it's one of those things that it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
I always
just-
throw my love of. I'm
Well,
like, I'm throwing a 20 in there because I know
Appreciate
how much.
that.
I know how much time. I know how much money it takes to build
Appreciate
something
that, yeah.
And so I'm not gonna let it go unrecognized.
Unfortunately, you're not the norm, right?
Yeah,
you're
no.
not the norm, brother. But it's just something that I mean that's it. I mean it's something that I do, something that I'll always do.
Yeah.
No matter where I live, no matter what I do. just because that's me, and I know Eleonova feels the same way.
Yeah.
We love Halloween, and yeah, we're going to do it till I can't do it no more.
I think we kind of answered this question, but we're going to ask it regardless. Hesperia House of Horrors said, any thoughts of bringing a Halloween horror convention to Vegas? I think we kind of, for the most part, discussed
there's
that.
lots of thoughts, right? There are lots of thoughts of doing that. Let's just put it out there, because people say this all the time. They said, when are you gonna do Midsummer Scream in different states or different major cities? It is of my opinion, and again, I'm not speaking for the team.
Right.
It is of my opinion, Midsummer Scream works here and is successful here because of the way the Halloween and haunt community is here.
Yes.
Right?
Big time.
This community does not exist in New York. This community does not exist in Orlando. It does not exist in Las Vegas. Yes, you can do a horror show. Yes, you can even do a Halloween and horror show. Will it be the same? No, because it's a totally different community. You can have celebrities out. That's great. You can have stage presentations. That's great. You can have vendors out. Midsummer, when you go to Midsummer, it's that intangible electricity that's in the air that you said it feels like a homecoming every year, right?
Every year.
Because you're with family. You're
Yes.
with your community. You're home. You're safe. You are on the island of misfit toys and you belong,
Yeah.
right? I do not think that specific feeling that Midsummer conjures can be replicated anywhere else.
Yeah.
You could put on a good show anywhere else.
I agree.
So absolutely it can work in Las Vegas. Would it be Midsummer Scream? No. Because Midsummer Scream is the community.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think
it's the name of the show. But really, Midsummer Scream, it's the community.
And not to mention, one weekend every single year, Long Beach is home.
Yeah.
And Long Beach is a beautiful setting. You got the shore right out there. You got the Queen in the background.
Yeah.
That whole, everything. It's just Long Beach. I've come to love the city more. I'm even going outside of Midsummer Scream, and every time I go to that convention center, that's the first thing I think about.
Well, we
Midsummer
handpicked
Scream.
it. We handpicked Long Beach.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have gone anywhere. With Midsummer.
San Diego, Los Angeles, anywhere.
We specifically handpicked Long Beach because we liked the location. We liked the vibe. There were restaurants nearby. There were ample hotels nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And we liked the venue.
Yeah.
We really liked the venue.
And they've treated you guys good.
So, yeah.
So for so long.
So there's the really long-winded answer. Yes, it can work other places. No, it would not be Midsummer Scream. It would be its own thing, as it should be.
Right.
So the answer is yeah.
It can.
Vegas can have a horror show.
We gotta, I can't wait to see anything. Hopefully, we get something like that out there. Vegas, your community needs something out there, and hopefully soon you guys will get something out there.
It would be great.
It would be great. The other Mies asks, what's your favorite haunt?
Speaking of Las Vegas, that's Mark. That's my brother Mark. He is a YouTuber in Vegas.
There he is.
The Other Me. Check him out. The Other Me. It's on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. All that good stuff.
Yep.
Mark produces great content in Vegas. Got to get on that, man. It's awesome. Eleonova and I were on one of his episodes.
Nice.
We went to dinner. We took him to dinner at a brand new place at Circa when it opened.
Okay.
8 East. And had brisket fried rice.
Oh, that sounds
it's just
really
as good
good
as it sounds.
Yeah,
man.
anything in Vegas is good.
And so if you could go on to YouTube, not right now because you're watching us, but when you're done with us, you go to YouTube and search The Other Me and type in The Other Me 8 East, and you'll see the episode with yours truly and Eleonova with their Mark. So anyway, Mark asks the question that is going to get a multi-part answer from me.
Let's do it.
Right? There is the womp womp version is there is no favorite haunt.
Right.
Right? Let me break this down. There are haunts that really live in my heart that I love.
Mm-hmm.
They live rent-free in my heart forever. And there are a lot of those here in Southern California.
Right.
You know, Rotten Apple in Glendale is
Such
one of
iconic.
them, right?
Yep. You see the yard display last year?
Oh yeah,
so beautiful.
I've not missed a year, so yeah.
Ghostbusters, Stranger Things. I mean,
so well, and so that's Helser.
That's Helser. I'm sorry, yes, Helser.
Right? That's Helser.
But Rotten Apple,
Right.
they do great stuff every
And
year.
Helser is another one.
Another great one too.
You know, Sal and Claire do amazing work,
Yeah.
ridiculous work. Straight to Hale
Straight to Hale's great.
is also fantastic.
Yes.
They're right around the corner from Rancho there.
There's a lot of
The Haunt with No Name Yet. You know, they're in Tarzana
Direct Society.
or in Long Beach.
Yeah.
There's a pattern there. What I love, I try to bring to Long Beach for everybody else to fall in love with.
There it is.
So there are favorite haunts that I look forward to seeing every year. And then, of course, you have Knott's Berry Farm, which has been a big part of my
Your history there, for sure.
Since, the early 80s when I started going to Scary Farm.
Yeah.
And then there are haunts that are technically over the top ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, my not favorite, but I can say the best haunt I've ever seen. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about actors, the set design, the soundscape, the operation, the whole shebang, right? That currently, and I've not been, there are a lot more haunts out there that I haven't seen than haunts that I have seen.
Yeah.
That belongs squarely right now to 13th Gate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay. Out of
That
state.
is reason alone to get on an airplane in October, fly to New Orleans, and then drive an hour and 15 minutes to Baton Rouge. If you did that, did 13th Gate, and then had to get back on your airplane and come home, your trip's worth it.
Wow.
I'm pretty jaded these days.
Right.
When we came out of 13th Gate the first time, all I could say was, holy shit, oh my God, over and over again. Like, it was just like stupid.
It was like being a kid again.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was freaking ridiculous. And it remains. It's one of the technically the best haunts in the world. You won't find video really on it, and you won't find pictures because they don't allow any of that in there.
And
they only allow out what they release.
Right.
Right. So you can search it online. You can see a few pictures, but there are no flow-throughs or anything like that. And they change it up all the time.
That's good.
Oh, my God. If you go to Louisiana during Halloween, you got to go to Baton Rouge, 13th Gate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that checks the technically the best haunt I've ever seen.
Right.
But favorite haunt is that evolves, that changes. There are certain ones, like I say, that live forever right here in my heart.
Yep.
I think that kind of dovetails into another question that we talked about a little bit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
Let's
does.
dovetail then into that next question.
If you can relive any, this is from Grandma's Boy, by the way.
All right.
If you can relive any haunt season, what year would you pick?
Okay. And I don't know if I'm supposed to divulge this, but this is our friend Dan Baranowski.
Okay.
And Dan has been a longtime friend of mine.
Okay.
He was one of the first users on TPA when I had a message board way back in the day. And Dan went on and became a major sound designer at Knott's Scary Farm.
Okay.
And at Knott's. So he worked on some of the biggest... He's somebody you should actually talk to on the podcast.
I would love to.
Dan is good people. And Dan worked on some of the biggest mazes ever at Scary Farm. And I recently just found out, as in very recently just found out, he's done all the sound design for the Lionsgate maze that we're going to have in Hall of Shadows.
Man, they're just
blew my freaking mind. Obviously,
Full circle.
tapped Dan to do this because they've worked together on projects.
Right.
And Dan's the best. He's the best in the business. And so it just was kind of like, So huge shout out to Dan. Dan's going to be at Midsummer this year. Can't wait to see you, man. And
I'm going to have to introduce myself for sure.
Yeah, dude. So best, repeat it again. Now that I've lost everybody in my rambling, let's go back to the question, and then we'll answer that.
So the question before was favorite haunt, and then it followed by, if you can relive any haunt season, what year would you pick?
Yeah, okay. So, again, this is a multifaceted answer, right? Because it doesn't pertain necessarily to Scary Farm, right? It doesn't pertain necessarily to Universal, right? There are favorites and favorite moments that I have from each of these that I would love to relive. I would love to, if we'll keep it on the Scary Farm bit for a minute, if I could go back to, because this is about reliving, right?
Right.
If I could go back and relive the first year of Dominion of the Dead.
Good maze.
And take my iPhone that I have now and shoot that in 4K in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
Yep. Right? I would love to go back and see some of the OG Ghost Town monsters and take really good, not shitty pictures of them.
With your nice low light camera.
Oh my God! Low light didn't even exist back in the day.
Now it's on the phones.
You had to take a picture and then take it to get it developed and pray that some of your pictures came out.
It didn't
for
blur,
months, right?
Yeah.
So those things I would love to go back with modern technology.
Yeah.
And capture those in a heartbeat. I would do that. I would do an OG walkthrough right now of Dominion of the Dead. It would be amazing, right?
I've seen you slightly come out of retirement. And
so
that was nice.
That would be really, really great to do that. I would do that in a heartbeat.
That could be fun.
Then there are other things like we're talking about, again, things that live in your heart.
Yeah.
I would give anything to be able for this next generation of haunt fans and really my girlfriend Eleonova, and her kids, I would love for them to be able to see Gary Korb's Hallowed Haunting Grounds in Studio City.
Wow.
That was like the OG of home haunts.
Yeah.
Started in the early 70s. Lasted for like 33-ish years.
Okay.
Before he called it quits on that. And to be able to take them to see that, God, would be great. Another one that is no longer around is the House of Restless Spirits that was in Santa Monica. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. The level of detail that was put into this home haunt was so damn good. So damn good. So things like that. Like there's not just like one specific year. Like I want to go back to 1992. No, there are bits and pieces though that I would love to go back and relive with people that I love and care about. Today. Yeah. To be able to show them, look, this is that thing that I always talk about. When I talk about.
And we got to bring
the
phone so you can film everything in 4K.
You have to take the tech. You have to take the tech with you.
I remember talking about we went through Corona Haunt together during their Christmas one year, and I remember when you came out of filming that walkthrough of just kind of, I think you did it for Midsummer Scream's page to kind of give
during the Halloween season, I do a lot of pictures and and I put it on Midsummer.
Yeah, and you did a walkthrough and you're like, man, if I had this coming up with TPA, this would have made life so much easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is so much better than any equipment that I paid thousands for over the lifetime of TPA. This right here would have made everything
so much easier. You could have just ran everything on the phone.
Oh, dude.
It would have been just
I could have even edited the 4K video on the phone.
You really can. You just they have the apps and everything, man.
Technology, man. Technology. But it is what it is.
It is. I mean, I still am very grateful for all those years of TPA, and I constantly always share I geek out over it. Because TPA is what I grew up on. Those were the POVs that I grew up on. When I was too scared to go to the events, that's how I watched my walkthroughs. Yeah. And I remember the TPA name because that was all the Knott's walkthroughs that I ever watched.
I do have I've got a lot of young haunters that say, "Oh man, I got into haunting. I wanted to be a scare actor because I grew up watching your videos, man. You know,
I wanted to do what
which
you
is
did
great. You know, that's
because
really
I
great.
watched your videos. Because like that was for me. I always thought the concept of providing POVs for people that, again, who are too scared or not knowing if they're ready to go yet. This was the best opportunity to give them an experience from the comfort of their own home. And TPA was a huge inspiration of why I do what I do today. So,
Well, I love that, and I appreciate the gratitude and the thought on that. You know, everything in your life evolves.
yeah.
And so for 24 years, I did TPA. But
Fun.
I like to think that rather than retiring that, it went into a cocoon and became my portion of Midsummer Scream.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be Hall of Shadows. There wouldn't be Midsummer Scream
Right.
if there hadn't been TPA.
Yeah.
Right? So, and TPA was always, again, goes back to the whole thing about following your passion. I created TPA because I wanted to share my love of theme parks
Yeah.
and themed attractions with people.
Yeah.
Again, we created Midsummer Scream, and I continue to produce everything, you know, in the Hall of Shadows and put all that together
Right.
because I want to share.
Share it.
Like, I'll go with Eleonova and we'll find a great home haunt that, you know, 6 people have heard of. And I say, oh my God, no, that has to be in Long Beach.
Yeah.
And so we transplant these things into Long Beach where they get to be appreciated and seen by thousands and thousands of people.
Colorado one.
It may not be a video that you're watching on YouTube,
Right.
but you're there experiencing it, living it. So I really believe that TPA morphed into a bigger platform, which is Midsummer Scream, which will inevitably, because this is the way life works, it will morph into something new for me.
Yeah.
Other projects that I eventually want to do
Right.
down the line. And so that was just a great starting point, right?
I agree.
And so everything that comes in its wake is just more stuff that I take from one experience to the other and just have amassed over literally a lifetime. And so, you know, it always is part of the DNA, and really the heartbeat of everything that I do, production-wise, just comes from my childhood love and affectionate of Halloween.
I 100%
and all
agree.
that stuff, right?
I mean, I see it every time we go, every single year, Midsummer Scream, and like I said, I continue, even to this day, I'll watch TPA walkthroughs just because there are a lot of old stuff that I liked, of past mazes and stuff, or I even loved the behind-the-scenes stuff you got to do with Scare School and
Sure.
all that stuff, and that was a lot of fun. But, you know, TPA is just, I'm glad it's still there on YouTube, and it's a good way to just always go back and be like, man, these are the days right here that I remember coming home from school, throwing on TPA videos while doing homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just to have them on the background, because I've watched them so many times that I would just have them on just to rewatch mazes that I love.
Yeah.
But man, it's been quite the journey for you, and I'm glad to see where you are now in great
time.
health.
Yeah.
We're back in great health.
Yeah.
A few short weeks away from Midsummer Scream, my friend.
Yes, we are.
I'm very excited. July 26th through the 28th.
Yes.
Friday through Sunday, 2024. Come out, buy your tickets now, on sale now on their website. Also follow them on their social medias.
Yeah.
Before we go, Rick, do you have any last words or anything else?
Not last words. Hell, knock on wood. No last words things. But no, I'm looking forward to being back in Long Beach.
Yeah.
With the community. It was very, very hard not to be there.
Yeah.
Most of it last year. And for the bit that I was there, I wasn't there, you know, so it'll be great to have all my facilities and be there to say hi to everybody this year and to share a really great Hall of Shadows with everybody, to share a really great Haunter panel with everybody, and just to see everybody getting together just the way it was designed to be, you know. I really can't wait to see that all happen, and then just get to work on next year, which we already are.
Already are hard at work with that one.
So yeah,
definitely get your tickets. You're not going to want to miss this stacked weekend at Midsummer Scream. So many great panels, so many great vendors, amazing haunts in the Hall of Shadows this year. You heard it from Rick West himself today. There's a lot that's coming, and you do not want to miss it. And every single year gets better and better. So jump on the bandwagon now and join us, because this is something you never want to miss for the rest of your life going forward. Like, this Midsummer Scream is an experience, and the best way to put it is just show up in person and find out.
Yeah, man.
Because that's the
gonna be
fun.
great.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're excited. A few short weeks out. Rick, it's always a pleasure, man. I mean, we always get into deep conversations. I'm very serious about that Vegas podcast too. We're gonna do that right after.
Me too.
After all the show is done, we'll pull back the curtain and have some more fun with the Vegas scene.
That'd be great, man.
Yeah. Well, Rick, again, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. For those who like today's video, obviously hit that like button, leave some comments down for Rick West. Show your excitement for Midsummer Scream, because I know I'm super excited for it. We talk about it every week on Nights Horror Radio, so get excited. Few short weeks, Midsummer Scream, great panels, and then we're kicking off into haunt season. That's it right there. That's the kickoff to haunt season right there.
That's
so
it.
For all those who are new to the channel, subscribe, follow us on all of our socials, follow Mr. Rick West over on social media, as well as the Midsummer Scream page to get all your Midsummer Scream news. And bringing back the app this year?
Yeah, the app's already live.
It's already live.
It's already live, so you can go on there. You can see the full schedule. You can like the different panels that you're going to go to.
Yes.
You can make your own schedule on it. It lists all the vendors. It lists everything that's in the Hall of Shadows. I mean, it's all going to be it's
helpful.
Up and running, but we're adding stuff now. Yeah. Now is where you're going to see everything getting dropped into it. Show times, presentation times, locations, all that stuff is being added right now to the app. But it is live, so go to the Apple Store or the Android Store, whatever that's called, and get it. It's on whatever platform that you're on your phone, and it's an invaluable tool to have.
Free to download. So
yeah, free.
Enjoy it. That came in such a big help last year, just kind of putting everything on our schedule. So definitely, if you guys are trying to hit all the panels or trying to hit as much as you can, download that app so you have the schedule to go, maps, vendors, all that fun stuff.
Be sure to like that home haunt panel.
Yes, I'm gonna be there. I'm there.
Social media has trained us like monkeys. We have to look and see who's liking what. So.
It's gonna be a great weekend, so you're not gonna want to miss out. But with all that being said, and if nothing else more, stay spooky.